Okay, so stream should be
Back to normal.
it should be live again. I've got chat open on my phone, so I don't open Internet Explorer right now.
So far,
I
so
want to make sure
smooth.
it all works.
It's just the background.
Does it look like it's okay? Is audio check audio to see if it's in double
Sounds
time
right.
or not? Okay, that's cool. So let's one piece at a time. Let's restart this puzzle. So I think the problem is if I open the Internet Explorer before OBS, it causes some weird lag out, and OBS just doesn't work. But if I do it in the other order, I think everything
Okey-dokey.
works.
Huh?
It's weird.
It do what it do. I'm just running around the mausoleum, waiting for people to invade, just to kill some time. I don't have any souls on me or anything. I'm really just burning humanities at this point. I never did kill the dragon. The dragon's hard. I could get him down to like very small number of health. That was it. Well, not I could only chip away at its health a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
don't
I just
blame
went
you.
to New Game Plus Plus.
I just feel like if I went into New Game Plus Plus, well plus plus plus, I would forget how to get where I was going.
No, you should only be at Plus Plus.
Oh, I guess you're right. Oh wait, I did it twice. I thought.
It should only be one. We
But I
only
did
went
I
into
did
New
two
Game
different
Plus
endings though, didn't I?
for this. Yeah, you did the
Oh,
New
that's right.
Game
I went
ending and
through
the
it
New Game
in.
Plus ending.
Okay, so yeah, if I if I go to the next quest, it would be plus plus.
Which in reality isn't all that bad. In about 4 hours, I made it through 9 or 10 bosses.
Run! Someone invaded. I didn't catch his name, so I can't tell if he was the jerk that healed.
Okay.
He's not. This is the guy that destroyed me the first time.
So we're this is it. This is the last Dark Souls 2 stream to our knowledge. I mean, this is the last Dark Souls stream to our knowledge. Like we have run this franchise into the ground.
We have.
So, of the 3 games that you played,
Uh,
which one was your
I gotta
favorite?
say, I still really appreciate one. I love everything about it. I love the just overwhelming difficultiness of it, and I don't know, like it had such a hardcore,
And I killed you.
uh, I don't know, like mythology to it.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
Three,
I think
three, I
3
will
is my
concede,
favorite.
has the better control scheme. Period. Like it feels faster, it feels more responsive, but man, I don't know. I just really appreciated.
I appreciate how few of your deaths are something killing you other
Yeah,
than you.
I mean that was me. I just now saw it on my screen. I walked right off the edge. Uh, I mean, okay, Dark Souls 1, what it has for it is you don't teleport at first. In fact, pretty much there's no hint that you will ever be using a teleport option until you get the Lord Vessel. So instead, you're finding all these really cool shortcuts. You're realizing that all this traveling that you did that makes you feel like you're going on forever, like it's still very much connected to right next to where you were. Uh, the first example would really be you're at Firelink, you go all over the place, and you feel like you're going on forever. And then you get to that church at the top, and you take the elevator.
And then you
Yeah,
go down
and
the
it's got that
elevator
open
and you're
window
back at
where you can
Firelink.
see everything, and you're like, wow, that bird looks familiar. And then boom, you're back in Firelink, and it's like, whoa, that's amazing. And there's even
I will I will concede that the map
it
design in Dark
absolutely
Souls
was.
1
It's
was the
just
best.
so slick.
That said, the you could have that really good map design and still give people the ability to teleport because good lord, are you ruined if you get into like the middle of what is it, Undead Burg up by the Taurus demon and you're like, "Oh, I need to go back to Firelink."
But that's part of the hardness of it. Like Dark Souls, the way that they handle like currency, it's you get it from what you kill. If you die, you lose it unless you can get it back without dying again. So when you increase that gap of like between bonfires, you're just suddenly thinking way more carefully about everything you're doing. And I like that. I like that difficulty aspect of it. I want to feel, I don't want to ever feel like it's a walk in the park.
I think the first game should have had before you get the Lord Vessel, you can always hard reset back to Firelink in case you end up accidentally brute forcing your way to like Nito and you don't realize it. And you're like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be here." Then you have to brute force your way back to
But
Firelink and that may just
how often do you
ruin
think
you.
that happened?
I don't know. I definitely got to Anor Londo and I was completely underleveled and I don't think there's a way to turn around once you do that.
I mean, you would have had to go, if you're going all the way to Nito, you would have had to go through uh, the Giants.
I mean, I just picked Nito as my example, but like I'm pretty sure you can go places that you're just not supposed to be in, and it can before you get the Lord vessel, it'll just completely lock you there, or it's a hard journey back.
I, I don't know. To some degree, that's reasonable, and a
Why
way to
were you
always go
using a
back to
spear?
Firelink. But that's where, like, it should be a consumable, and they just give you 5 of them at the start.
I'm I mean, I would have been cool if Homeward Bones, which is a limited consumable that you can later buy ad infinitum, had the shrine warp that it
I agree
has
with that.
in
That would
Dark
have been
Souls 3.
nice. And hi, Camino.
So like you can use a consumable and hard warp back to base
Yeah,
and just
I'd
restart your
agree with that.
journey.
But I mean, what else? I liked one because I
Why
was
were you
trying to
using a
find something
spear?
like a halberd. Because I remember you telling me the good halberd is forever down the road.
And we got you the good halberd.
I see.
We
I
got
see
you the good
Jolly
halberd, and it
Corn.
was forever down the road.
Dark Souls 2, like, it did feel like the combat was better than Dark Souls 1.
think Dark Souls 2 had the best PvP. We didn't experience a lot of it, uh, mainly because whenever we fought an invader, we just kind of
I don't know. I think three's
pissed off and died.
PvP is, well, with the whole meta thing with the one-handed sword thing, it's a little crappy.
Yeah, like in Dark Souls 2, I think Dark Souls 2 of all Dark Souls, you had the most viable weapons. Also, I love in that clip where I was like, "How did you die?" And I came running back down the tunnel to you.
Stupid butterflies. Well, I like Dark Souls 3's, I guess matchmaking. Like you're able to make matches, you're able to
Oh, the
and the password
the
system,
confirmed
like so
arena.
that you can party with a friend or even like scale someone down to your level or just ignore level scaling completely. Like that kind of stuff is very nice, and it's just a shame that it's ruined by the poor balance. Because if one weapon is clearly better than all of them,
Yeah, the
then you have
questionable
done
meta.
balance poorly. Well, rather, if one weapon type.
And even among that one weapon
Now,
type,
see,
there
there
is
you
one
go.
weapon to rule them all.
What else? Oh God.
I like that Dark Souls 2 had more than one health item. I think I'm the only person who likes that, but I like life gems as an
Oh
item.
yeah, I do remember life gems now. I totally forgot about those.
It's in a pinch you can get a small bit of health, and you can just kind of spam them, but
Well, and
they're never going to
there
be
was a
as
super
effective
one,
as
right? That
Estus.
it would slowly
Yeah, there was
gen.
one that gave you uh, a regen instead of a full like block of health, but those were very limited.
Uh, oh man. But all that said, I feel like Dark Souls 2 just had kind of bland monster designs. Like nothing really stood out to me as all that interesting.
I will concede that the monsters. Wow, you are putting those skeletons into the sky. I didn't realize how far the spear backstab threw him into the air.
Yeah, that was fun. Oh man, in the butt.
The enemies in Dark Souls 2 were mostly dudes in suits of armor, to quote
Yeah.
Ya Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation.
Dark Souls 3 I felt had uh, really cool designs. I still think maybe Dark Souls 1 had my favorite overall designs. I mean, things like the gaping dragon. I remember the first time I saw that, that blew me away.
I remember how we had to cheese that because it just wasn't happening.
Well, what else was there? Like Hovel was actually a fairly decent challenge. Because I feel like in 3, he just wasn't really remotely hard.
Um, I enjoyed fighting him one on one, but when we did co-op Hovel, that was
Well, I think
child's
even.
play. But I went out of my way to make Dark Souls 3 like masochistically hard by
Yeah,
using fist weapons as my only weapon.
that is your go-to. What is the dumbest weapon I can use? I'm no better. I'm always like, oh, I want the halberd, but it's a stupid slow weapon. Fuck.
I've used I don't remember using an axe, and every clip that has shown Saving Private Corin has been me holding an axe or a club. And I'm like,
Oh, and
I
it
don't
rolled.
remember using this weapon
Guys.
ever.
I was bad at jumping.
You were very much throughout the entirety of this playthrough, you are hard set into Dark Souls 1. If I tap
Yeah.
roll hard enough, I jump.
Oh man, those little things. Yep. Ow. Ow. Yeah, I'm so close to getting my halberd.
It's right next to you.
All right.
I think at this point you already had it because we just had to jump. We literally just had to jump sideways and you got it. So I think you
Oh,
had
I
it
can't
and didn't
remember.
have the
I
stats
can't
to
remember.
use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Neither can I. This was 2 years ago.
Let's see. The level design in Dark Souls 2 is easily the worst.
It's linear path, uh, promptly breaks into four linear paths that reconverge into one.
Threes, I felt was like the areas that you go in three, I really liked, but overall, it still felt kind of disconnected. I don't know, and maybe that's just an issue. Like it sounds like it might be something that's hard to replicate without it getting stale.
Yeah, they may have just struck gold on the first one, and they were just never able to reproduce it. Oh, you got the halberd. You're about to get eaten by a mimic. If I can guess.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. You got eaten by a mimic.
You know,
I like how
it's
through all of the Dark Souls, my modus operandi stays the same. Let's just put the mimic to
I gotta
sleep
fight it.
and take its loot.
It's like you with your demon fist, man. I
You
gotta
were
go
all
in
about
and
killing it.
kill the mimic.
Oh god, I know where this is going. You're standing outside the well. You How'd you die? You were wearing the cat's ring.
Well, I
Why did
think
that
you
kill
also
you?
had the butterfly pants, and I just think I have not put
I do
on
love the butterfly pants.
any points into vigor, so it was pretty much just not enough. I did,
Oh, I remember this boss fight. You actually, because we couldn't summon for this boss fight due to the way the Covenant in the area works, you actually had to fight the boss, and I just had to
which
cast the
boss? The
spell three
rats
times.
here,
The rats,
or I was really
the
happy
Royal Rat
when I
Vanguard.
won that one because it was close.
That's one of my favorite boss fights. Like
Yeah,
when you do it right, it's so good.
it was fun. I have good memories of the multi rat fight.
I think the bosses, even though they were all pretty samey, you fought Smelter Demon. If you do the DLC, you fight Smelter Demon twice, and you fight in the base game the Dragon Rider armor. No, the Dragon Rider Knight. You fight him 3 times if you just
What
do the
was the
bosses in the base game. So the bosses were samey,
Yeah.
or literally the
And what
same.
what was the angel dude again from the beginning? The knight with the wings.
The
I
Knight
think you
with the
shot me
Wings
with
from
an
the
arrow while you
beginning.
tried to find him.
Oh, he didn't have
I
wings. He
thought he
he
had
was just a
feathers.
floaty knight in armor. Nah, he was the pursuer,
What was he
and his
pursuing?
great shield is in Dark Souls 3. His job was to like round up uh, hollows and send them to the prison that we fought
Gotcha.
the lost sinner in. Oh yeah, here's the
Can't
pursuer
wait.
wrecking you,
I am on a slight delay.
and him following you around is new to his DLC. I mean, the Scholar of the First Sin edition.
I remember that.
Wow, we did this game
I blame
so out
you
of order.
because I didn't know what I was doing.
Like I'm looking at my gear to figure out the order we did things in, and I'm wearing Drangleic gear here, and you're wearing
I like that last one with
uh
the 3 or 4 dudes and one guy just off my camera just nails me with a Hadouken. Hadouken.
yeah, we apparently did every every lord prior to the first lord before coming down here.
I can't remember at all. Maybe we just made a mad dash to the halberd.
That might have been it. But we went to No Man's Wharf and we fought the pursuer in part 1 of your death montage. And then in part 3 we come to fight the boss that's at the end of that area.
Forget why we would have done that.
Couldn't tell you. Maybe I thought we beat the boss and then later found out we didn't. Oh, hey, look, there's the dude who came into our chat and talked to us for a while, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah, the
intentionally doing
friggin'
something that's
super.
broken."
What was a crossbow like spell, right, or something?
It's it's the 2 crossbows that
Yeah,
shoot like
it's
hex
got
magic.
like insane tracking. Yeah, we kind of deserved it. But
Yeah, but that dude later turned into like a dude who's just like, "I'm gonna have fun with this and use stupid weapons and fight you guys."
I think story-wise, also, I think I really like Dark Souls
Oh,
1. It was a little more simpler. Um, but I don't know.
Dark Souls 2 didn't really add a whole lot to the story in my mind. And we didn't do the Scholar of the First Sin part of Scholar of the
Well,
First Sin.
if I recall, the
So,
the chick that we fought at the end was like a technically a daughter of Manus.
yes, there each DLC had a Daughter of Manus and the we only fought Nassandra at the end. No, we fought Nassandra and we fought the one in the sunken city because I used her halberd while you used that halberd and we were halberd bros.
I remember looking up the story after the fact, and it started making more sense. But at least during the first playthrough, like it just seemed more out of whack, even for Dark Souls.
Yeah, it kind of just muddied the waters, but I think Dark Souls 3 went out of the way to muddy the waters. So it was like, oh, this is directly ish following
Yeah,
Dark
and
Souls 1,
I
but in
think
a
Dark Souls
confusing
3
and
went to
convoluted way.
embrace the concept that time is different here. And I think, well, time and space is different here, which confused a lot of people because they said it in the first game, but you didn't see any time travel-y type stuff, right? With the exception of the DLC. Yeah, but that was more
Aside
like
from Ulasil.
that was an event use trigger to get you there. And so it makes sense. That's kind of like your DeLorean and lightning bolt. You get back in the past or in the future in that case. But in 3, it's like you're just walking around one day and then you take something and suddenly you're in the past and you're like, what? Like you weren't, that wasn't your goal at all. Nothing dragged you there. It was just the next logical place to go, and it was the same place but different. And it was either before the Age of Fire or after the Age of Fire. I guess it'd be.
Hello, Dragon's Breath. We've finished playing through all the Dark Souls games, so we're just gonna be running. I'm running footage from our time in each of the games while we just talk about them and what we think about them. So feel free to like add questions in chat and we'll address them.
See, we're finally going back to the horses.
Yeah, we I don't
Well,
know
I
what
think
our routing was in
some
this.
areas, I
I
think we just hit
genuinely
a
am
boss that we
confused
couldn't kill.
because I know in part 2 you got killed by the executioner's chariot and then we
God,
just
I
came
remember
back
that one where I
later.
walked off the stairs and it happened to be a cliff. Oh man.
I'm still upset that I never got the mannequin claws to drop. Like that was the beginning of me using stupid fist weapons was Dark Souls 2. Yeah, you were right. Dark Souls 3 is weird and like I'm gonna turn a corner and suddenly I am
I mean,
in
even the
the
end of
future.
the Ring City, which spoiler alert.
You touch an egg and
Yeah,
you're
like it
really
just
far into
blasted
the
you
future.
way past anything our character's even done. You know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and the only thing that like tells you your way in the future is you're there with Gale, and Gale is leading you the entire time, and then when you meet Gale at the end of the DLC, it's clear he's not even like close to the human he was before.
Yeah, he was definitely pretty far gone. I'm still confused on the Dark Soul aspect of what he was doing because he made it seem like he was searching for it. And at the time that he had started attacking us, he didn't have it until he starts bleeding, and then he's like, "Oh, I have the Dark Soul." So it's like, when did he get it? How did he get it? Was it not so much that he had the Dark Soul, but he
Um,
was
I think he was unaware he had the Dark Soul until we, beat the crap out of
because like
him.
it could have been something where it was something that had to happen to him, you know, something.
But the major spoilers for the Ring City, which is I guess still in spoiler territory. It
Yeah,
has been out
I'd
for a hot
still
second.
toss out the spoiler alert.
Um, at the end of the DLC, you run into Slave Knight Gale again. I think there's enough agains. And he's basically, it looks like he's eating the pygmies, the descendants of the original pygmy,
I'm gonna look that up.
as far as I can tell. Because it's like the pygmy kings, and I think they're like descendants of the original figurative pygmy. And he was just killing them so he could get the dark soul of man, which the pygmies have because the pygmies' fault that everything went hollow, I guess. I'm gonna assume that is Dragon who followed. I can't. Nope. Uh, Gypsy Rose, thank you for the follow. While Colin is looking up
Yes,
lore.
I'm hoping to find information.
But he's killing the pygmies, and from the pygmy that's crawling his way up to Philianor, it sounds like he's not just killing them, but he's eating them. Yeah, okay, so yeah, he had been consuming the pygmies to eat their dark souls, so he could give the dark soul of man to nameless chick so she
Okay,
could
so
paint
he
a new
just had to
world.
eat more of those, and in order to get to them,
What
he had to time.
he just had to get more
But what
hollow,
kind
I
of
guess.
pygmies were they, for sure?
I think they were all kings. I think they're all wearing crowns when you look at them. We're almost to the best boss in the
Which one was
game.
the?
Yeah, the old Iron King, the thing who just breathes fire
Oh
and punches you
God,
into a pit of lava.
that was a lot of death.
God, that was I will
That
never defend that
if I
boss.
recall, that killed me quite a bit.
We have a video log. It might recall correctly. Yeah. I still feel bad about the end of that. We absolutely spent like 4 minutes not doing anything, just playing The Sound of
Yep, just
Silence
laid
after we
down in the
finished the
fire.
DLC.
This is what we deserve.
I hope Master Gale will live in this new world. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It was bad. I felt there are few things that make me feel in video games. The what is it? The mission in GTA 5 where you have to torture the guy for information. That mission makes me feel bad. And when the little girl said she was painting a world for Gale after we murdered him 2,000 years in the future or whatever it is, it's like, I'm sorry, kid. You're
Yep,
never
hope
going to
you're not
see
too
Gale
attached
again.
there, whatever her name was.
She didn't have one. She's just
Just
a
a new
little
painting.
girl. This is 3 deaths to the old Iron King currently. And only one of them's been punched into lava so far. The other 2 have been killed by an attack. But God, doing this fight on New Game Plus in Dark Souls 2 was the worst thing I ever had to do. I distinctly remember spending an hour on this fight. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing in this fight using a whip. I am clearly the
I'm
asshole in
not
this
surprised if you
situation.
would let me die.
I'm gonna be enjoy this wonderful picture of Lothric Castle. I'm gonna be pulling up some footage from Dark Souls 1, hopefully.
See an NPC dragging itself across the ash. That's all it says. This was not a fruitful Google search. What about this one?
Uh, I apparently didn't number any of my Dark Souls videos.
Go at random.
So, yep, I'm gonna play my favorite moment from all of Dark Souls 1, and we'll watch that.
Your favorite moment in all of Dark Souls 1.
We are in Anor Londo. I'm summoning you. Do you know what it is?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
I'm summoning you to Anor
Schmo
Londo.
and Ornstein?
It is Ornstein and Smo. Also, this game is significantly uglier than Dark Souls 2. They made a lot of graphical improvements between 1 and 2.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
even
Everything
just for
about it. I
character
mean,
models.
I think Dark Souls 2 even had a little bit of cloth physics happening here and there. Maybe it was keyed, but I remember first watching you play Dark Souls 3, and I noticed everything had cloth physics, and it was pretty. I think the one I saw was you fighting the mage.
Oh, the Crystal Sage, where his entire outfit is flowy, and I think
Yeah,
they
they like went to
overdo it on
town
the
on
cloth
that.
physics a little bit. I don't know if they're super exaggerated or very accurate, and they just went, look, we're gonna use this as a showpiece. I also appreciate how you use the halberd for all of Dark Souls 2. Then we played Dark Souls 1, and now I'm using the halberd. And then Dark Souls 3 comes along, and
I
we
just went with
both
the sword,
forego the
and
halberd.
I kind of heard that it punished heavier weapons, and I guess that was true until they changed the whole power armor thing. Because from what I understand, that was not original.
The hyper armor.
Uh,
Yeah, I used a scythe on patch. It had to be patch like 1.1. Like the I did play it at launch, but I think they did a patch before I got my scythe, so I used a sword up until the very first patch. And I used the great scythe, and whenever I fought a faster boss, like the bosses are pretty slow and forgiving, but whenever I fought a faster one, it just kicked the crap out of me. But yeah, Ornstein and Smo is a great fight. They brought Ornstein back for Dark Souls 2, and it was still a very fun fight. They sort of brought him back in Dark Souls 3 through the Dragon Slayer and Rusted Iron Dragon Slayer fights,
which one was it?
but it's not fully Ornstein because he does have a shield, but he is
I'm
super
having a
aggro
really
like
hard time
Ornstein.
remembering what that actually was.
What, the Dragon Slayer? It was one of the there was that dude we fought in the swamp with the shield and the great axe. And then he was the one with the two pilgrim butterflies. Right before Prince Lothric and Lorien.
Wait, he was the Smough and Ornstein one?
He is a dragon slayer with very similar armor to Smo. I mean, to Ornstein. So I figured he was their Ornstein fight for Dark Souls 3. Because you couldn't put Ornstein in all three of them because that'd be kind of silly.
Uh,
Or you could say it's the dragons, the nameless king, who fights super aggro and has a spear, and Ornstein is super aggro with a spear.
I did draw a lot of similarities with them.
And he just got crushed. He just got crushed under a giant hammer. Yeah, the character design in Dark Souls is great, and even when it's like lacking originality, like in Dark Souls 2, where it's just dudes in armor,
Yeah.
it still looks great. The character design is always on point in Dark Souls games, and even in Bloodborne, which is the other Souls-esque game made by From. Doesn't Bernie have one of the Dark Souls art books?
I think he might have the first one. The art of the first game. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, this is me trying to figure out what the white circles on the ground meant.
For those that don't know, the white circles mean that other players that are doing the same that are in the same area in their own worlds, they're casting miracles. And when they cast a miracle, anyone connected to their world will get those little things, and that's
And they can cast the same
yep.
miracle and get a little
Everyone,
boost to it. I had full health and cast heals, so yeah, I thought it was something like if I use this, it'll somehow interact with the boss. Nope, that was not the case. Okay, since I just saw myself tick past it, the humanity system in Dark Souls 1 was actually dumb. Like, I hated how you had to use
That's something I
humanity to
didn't
heal
really
yourself as a
hate.
phantom.
Like for a co-op thing, yes. I feel like if you were a Sunbro, maybe that would allow you to use an Estus. Like if that was just a Sunbro trait.
Yeah, that'd be fine, but it's just like everyone has to use
Yeah,
humanities,
they
and
were easy to
humanities. I
come.
mean,
I
you can
felt
farm
like
them
they were
easy.
easier to come by than
We
Embers
had to.
because Embers,
Embers were hidden
yeah,
behind harder
and
enemies
I
than
feel like
rats.
you don't
That
start
was the problem.
getting nearly enough of them to allow people to invade or even look for, um, I don't know, random PvPs or summons, and you just end up spending most of your time as a hollow.
Unless you wanted to early game farm Lothric Knights, who stay a tough enemy just through their damage output,
I did that too,
even
but
into the
man,
later game.
I hardly ever got an Ember from them. It was almost always like some sort of gem.
Yeah, and you could buy. I want to say you could buy in total, like. Oh, I'm getting greedy. I'm getting greedy. Oh, God.
Got to use the pillar. The
Oh,
pillar is your
no.
friend. Just like in my
Victory
my playthrough
achieved.
of the dancer.
You died. Yeah, that was the most terrifying moment of Dark Souls 1 was we killed Smo on like attempt number 4. And I was like, is he dead? I'm dead. Is he
Did you ever
dead?
beat Gwen in
Do I
yours?
have to run back? No, I didn't, because I'm thankful I didn't. If I'd actually recorded footage like I wanted to, because then I could run through the entire game
Oh, yeah,
and
that's fair.
record footage. But no, I've never beaten Gwen. It shouldn't be that difficult. But I tried to go back and play Dark Souls 2 recently. Let me find another video to play. Oh, I don't like this.
Face cam.
Abort, abort, go to the co-op channel. Pull up our actual
Play me off.
co-op footage. Let's... Oh, did Ring City Part 3 not go to
Uh,
YouTube?
I don't know.
It did not. Oh, no, Part 3 is here. It includes copyrighted material. But they let it slide. Oh, here it is. Let me just skip to the copyrighted material part, because it's... You're already laying
It
in the
was game
church.
over, man. It felt so bad.
And I walked downstairs.
Because I don't think you had read it yet.
Oh no,
Oh,
I
okay.
read it and I tried to jump off the bridge and it wouldn't
I
let me.
remember
Let me go
I
back a
think
little bit
I
further.
read the talk first. I was like, oh no. Oh no, no, it was right around the same time. We both kind of went,
Yeah, I thought it was gonna trigger.
oh.
Yeah, I thought it would trigger a cutscene, so I switched over to only watching me. And we're up here. You give the blood. My thanks, Ashen One. With this, I will paint a world.
Hopefully my Uncle Gale will like it.
Please tell me thy name. I would like to name the painting after thee, and because our character names are stupid, Petronius and Better Than Tom. So we both shared our names because it's like, oh,
I
this
will call
world's gonna have a
this
stupid name.
the Painted World of Batronius.
The painted world of Better Than Tom. They're just dumb. One day it will make someone a
I mean,
goodly
I almost
home.
opted to.
I wonder when Uncle Gale intends his return. I hope the new painting will give him a gentle home. And I didn't take the ladder. I took the cat ring off, and I just walked. And I didn't die. So I was gonna go back and jump off again. We both felt really really bad, and that's great writing
It
on
was,
Dark
yeah,
Souls'
I
part.
agree. Like, it definitely it just brought it around, and it really found a way to make it feel like crap.
So it this raises an interesting question. We killed Gale arbitrarily 2,000 years in the future. Does that mean? Oh, and as you progress through the Ring City, the fire spreads from down in this boss arena, which this is in the top 3 for best boss fights in the game.
That was
The
really cool.
Lady Elfrida fight. But we'll talk about. I want to know your top 3
God,
boss fights after this. Like one, I'm not gonna say one from each
no,
game
I
because you
don't.
don't remember Dark Souls 2.
I honestly can't even think of a boss fight that I actually like from Dark Souls 2. I mean, at least more than one of the other
It'll just
games.
be so during this boss fight, you create fire, and it just stays in the room that I'm in. As you progress through the ringed city, the fire moves up to the room that Corin is laying in, and up into the room where the girl is. But then that's where time progression stops. Because that happens before you do the major jump into the future to fight Gale. So, did we go into the future? And then the bonfires can warp us back through time?
uh, the tricky thing is remembering the Dark Souls mythology. Time does not flow normally, period. Space is not normal, period. So it's like, for some reason, what we see throughout the playthrough of this game, as far as like physical locations, the chances that these physical locations remain intact while we run through them is a mystery. Uh, the time aspect, we don't understand what causes us to go from one area of time to another, but you can kind of get an idea. So people often say or theorize that the fourth dimension is time. We are three-dimensional beings, only capable of manipulating our three-dimensional space. We have no control of the fourth dimension, therefore we only move forward in time. We can't personally alter our flow of time. We can be put in instances that, speed time or slow it down based on gravitational warping or speed. But
Yo, this is the quantum. No, this is not quantum. This is relative
special
physics
relativity.
moment from Dark
So
Souls.
either way, we're only moving forward in time. Now, we are a three-dimensional being. There could be two-dimensional beings, and they would never be able to comprehend a third dimension. And as such, they would never be able to move on the z-axis. They would be constrained to only the x and y. That is everything they know. So, if there was a fourth dimensional being, similar to how we are the third dimensional being, looking down at 2D, The fourth dimensional being could look down at 3D. The difference being fourth dimensional beings would be able to go through space as easily as we climb a ladder. So, in a sense, this realm, this world that we're in, might have like some ability to traverse the fourth dimension in a very logical way, the same way that a fourth dimension person, like I said, could just go up and down a ladder to change, the time that they're in. How much of that made sense?
Actually, a lot because I've been on like a hardcore
I mean,
science
and that
binge. So
what that dictates is time, like fate is not a real thing, but it's more like everything's already happened. Like you and I have already had this stream, and you and I are also no,
okay,
we're going
okay,
we're
now you're
going
getting a
all
bit
out.
metaphysical.
You and I are also not born yet, and we are also already dead. But we're also alive right now. We are also experiencing yesterday. We're also experiencing tomorrow. Time, if you just think of it like time is on a table, you have a tabletop. On the left is the beginning of time, and on the right is the end of time. It's there. Like, actually, a movie. Um, we'll look at a movie. Um, I'm saying a lot. When you put the film strip in front of a light, you can only see that frame at that time. But if you were to take out all the film and stretch it out, you have every bit of time that's on that film strip here.
You've
Yeah,
also
that'd be
broken
rude.
the reel because you're an asshole.
So we'd never do that. But you could, you just kind of start to understand that the beginning of the movie exists, the end of the movie exists at the same time. They're there, they've already happened, but here in the middle is what we're at. And if we are peasant third dimensional beings, we are only capable of moving forward in time like a VCR. We do not have a rewind button. We cannot comprehend a rewind button.
But that rewind box is a
Well, the
separate
fourth
entity
dimension
to us.
being could rewind.
Yeah, the
Yes.
fourth dimensional being owns a
Or
rewind
or it
box.
is on a table. Like you lay the film out on a table and you look left and right. Uh Dude, I love this kind of stuff. I love thinking about time. That's why I don't really freak out about like I don't know, deaths and things. I just feel like
I distinctly remember having a separate box
my
to
dad had one that was
rewind
shaped like a Ford
VHS
Mustang, a
tapes.
classic Mustang. We'd pop that thing in there before going back to Blockbuster and it would just automatically rewind.
Yeah, I had a little box that I'd put the VHS in, hold it down, count to about 10,
Yep, they
and
just
then it'd be
had
back to the
dedicated
beginning.
rewind boxes. Right,
Man, what a
right?
savage time we lived in.
Couldn't believe it. But yeah, so all that said, all that means is Dark Souls is a place where the fourth dimension is bleeding into the third dimension, perhaps. Or whatever is controlling the bonfire, whatever is controlling this world and causing the physical cities and spaces to collapse on themselves. It's also causing time to have periods where they bump into each other. And so maybe the bonfires are tapping into those different periods. So I think, yes, when we went to Gale, we were actually in the future. In that future, technically, that painting was also burned. And it wasn't until we went back through the bonfire that we ended up kind of like a wormhole back at a previous point in time.
I
I
think.
have.
Did you ever watch Doctor Who? So I think King and It made a pretty good analogy. If a bonfire is similar to a TARDIS, specifically the Doctor's TARDIS, um, it will send you wherever it feels like. Because the Doctor doesn't really control the TARDIS so much as he gives suggestions, and the TARDIS puts him at a point in time
I can see
where he
that.
needs to be.
I mean, the player. Well, it could be argued.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that whenever.
so we say we want to go to the painted world of Ariandel, and the game's like, okay, I'm gonna put you at the painted world of Ariandel 100 years in the future now.
I don't know because that was. We went super into the future after we touched the eggshell.
Yeah, and then the bonfire went, oh, you want to go to Firelink? Okay, I'm gonna
I'm
send you
just gonna
back in time to
say
Firelink.
that the interface that we see is for us, the player. But if it's world, basically we're the TARDIS. We are the bonfire telling the player where to go. Like where, because we are deciding what the player needs to, where the player needs to go. So if you're saying the TARDIS tells the Doctor, or says,
Well, the Doctor tells the TARDIS where, and the TARDIS
okay,
tells the
so
Doctor
it would
when.
be like, I guess I'm just trying to unify that we are the player and also the bonfire in that scenario. We, it's a bridge between the game, like having to play out the way it does. So it's, if we have to go into the future, we go into the future. Or
I still remember doing that. I completely brought the match to a standstill to do nothing.
what else? And yeah, there is more than one TARDIS. I mean, not in the show.
In the
But I
show, there's
mean in
absolutely
the
more than one. So,
like on screen.
some
Is there ever more than one TARDIS on screen? Oh, that
yes,
must be
there's
a
more than one
fairly
TARDIS on
recent
screen.
episode,
So,
roughly recent.
so the the original TARDIS, the Doctor stole
Yep.
from a basically a TARDIS lockup, and then you don't really see multiple TARDISes, and I think there might be one in the episode where he goes back to Gallifrey. Well, the movie when he goes back to Gallifrey and meets two other doctors because they're all there at the same time. And then in the episode where the doctor can no longer be with Clara, this is the most recent doctor. Clara has a TARDIS with Missy, and as she leaves, she has been carrying around the
Oh,
doctor's
weird.
TARDIS in her TARDIS.
So wait, is that Clara? Cara? Clara.
Clara is his companion, and Missy is some immortal character, which
Clara is
they
human.
like having in Doctor Who. Clara's
See, I stopped
human, just a
watching,
normal companion.
not for any reason in particular. I just stopped watching. I haven't been able to pick it up. Around, it was whatever season or half season that it was when I can't remember her name. It was Matt Smith. It was his first companions, Rory, Amy, and
Okay,
Rory. Yeah,
so
I
that's
I
that's
I
Amy and
did not
Rory,
see that
who
last
were
half of the
around for
season where
far
they,
too long.
because I think it was like a half season, right? Like they split it into two seasons.
Uh,
No.
did they have a kid yet? Okay, so they still had like another season to go because there's another season where they've had a kid,
Oh,
and it's
interesting.
about finding that kid.
Wait, no. That does sound familiar.
I was gonna say, you know how you if you watched up through
Yeah.
that, you
Okay.
must
So
have
yeah, you and
seen
I are on
River
the same
Song at
page.
some point. Yeah, River Song is the kid, and River Song goes missing, and then he just keeps running into River Song because
They
they
somehow
had to make
brought
the
her
story
back, didn't they?
convoluted. In a recent episode, they had a like middle of the timeline meeting where he finally took River Song to dinner for
Oh.
their honeymoon.
But as far as we can tell, her brain is still in the silent library thing.
Yeah, she
I
she
feel
will
like
forever be in the silent
My
library.
personal opinion
She,
is that they are keeping her there
it
because
was
I
weird.
feel like the Doctor being able to go through time and stuff could potentially, rescue her to some degree. I mean, you have time. You have all the time in the world. But then again, you did mention how the TARDIS works, and that's weird. But maybe at some point he'll be able to. I'm just saying it's an option,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the writers can come up with a reason to make it happen. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, like she was when Smith met her when she was born. That theoretically should have said that she will never meet another doctor than Matt Smith, because he's supposed to meet the end of his timeline meets the beginning of her timeline. And the beginning of her timeline is the first time she meets. I mean, the end of her timeline is the first time
But
she
the
meets
end
the
of her
doctor.
timeline is when she dies. Yeah.
Is the silent
But
library.
if
Yeah.
if an older doctor, because the older the doctor gets, the less he remembers her. No.
He remembered when the most recent doctor, who is Peter Capaldi, I think. He's an old gentleman. He's actually, I really
Yeah.
enjoy him. He's a much more serious doctor. Um, when he meets River, he knows exactly who River is, and River has a flip wallet picture of every single doctor up through Smith. The River's like looking
Gotcha.
for the doctor, but she's also looking for a
Uh,
doctor for what she's trying to do in that episode.
I see.
So it leads to some
Gotcha.
intentional verbiage hijinks.
All right. All right. Favorite bosses. Yep.
Now that we have that tangent, um, Dark Souls 1, I'm going to give my favorite boss to.
I know I'm stuck too.
I'll
I'm
get back
trying to
to it.
like go through
Um,
all of them.
Dark Souls 3, it's a toss up between Slave Knight Gale, which which is a visually beautiful fight.
I mean, it was the whole concept
He,
of what that was like. The stakes felt very high on that one, like especially once he went all Dark Soul crazy mode.
and then
Yeah,
you also had the lightning
that
effects
was
and
intense.
his little
I
like
agree with
chaos
that
orbs.
completely.
It was a very everything in the fight lended itself to what was like this is every fight is you're fending for your life, but this is a case where Gale is
Oh,
singling you
cat,
out to kill you for the Dark Soul.
cat is like meowing hardcore. Yeah, I'm torn
Meow 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 meow.
on how to rank my bosses because when I think of the bosses, I don't really think of the gameplay
That's why I did my
aspect.
game.
I think of like how it felt to see them, to be introduced to them.
Yeah, that's
I feel like Dark Souls 3 did a really good job of framing the
that's
bosses and making them seem pretty cool and like one of the ones that I really liked as far as the introduction was the king, the giant, not the giant king, the super giant king, the really Yorm, yeah. No, not Yorm,
Yorm.
not that one. No, there
Is
was the
that the
one
one where
where it's
Siegfried
like
walks
all
in with
dark,
you?
but you're going down like a hill, and then suddenly his bracelets light up, and he leans in.
Oh, okay. Uh Wolner. Wolner is a great boss fight, but
I
he's
agree,
too easy for me
and
to
I'm not
rank
even
him in my
ranking him in
top
my
3.
top three, but that's an example, like that presentation of like you're going down this hill, and then suddenly it lights up, and there's a giant skeleton right in front of you, like that sticks with you, and I was like, whoa, that's cool, and then I
Yeah, you pick up a
yeah,
tome
that was
and then
like that
suddenly you're
type
in
of
a boss
stuff is
fight.
cool. Um, I liked another one in this one. Oh my god, I forgot it. He did.
Nameless King had a really cool opening.
and
It was a
he
two-stage
was
opening.
definitely legitimately tough.
I think I'm gonna give my favorite boss fight from Dark Souls 3. I gotta give it to Lady Elfrida.
That was first DLC. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the 3 health bar boss fight.
I think I can agree to that. That one seemed to be. I mean, that's two really cool ones then with Dark Souls, and of course they're the two at the end of the DLCs.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Lord of
Lord of
Cinder.
Cinder was very just kind of whatever, but
Like his boss fight was supposed to represent, like, stage 1 was supposed to represent the players. So he used pyromancy, he used spells, he used miracles, he used spears, he used curved swords, he used long swords, he used uh
I mean, I think what's
I
neat
think that's
about him
it.
is,
And then his second stage was very much
yeah,
Gwen.
you know,
And I'm just not a fan of the Gwen fight. I wasn't a fan of it in Dark Souls 1. And I'm
so
not
are
a
we
fan of it in
supposed to
Dark Souls
believe that that
3.
was Gwen or just a descendant of Gwen?
I think that is supposed to be Gwen because his soul gives you Gwen's miracle.
I just wonder if that's something that could have been passed down or what, because I'm trying to wrap my head now around what would make Gwen be the keeper of the flame.
Well, I mean, Gwen
Yeah, forever
sacrificed
ago.
himself to light the
Like
flame, right?
forever.
Yeah, so it would make sense that if you were to keep the flame going, for Gwen to be the gatekeeper, that you are worthy if you
Gotcha.
can
So
kill
you think
Gwen.
he is always going to be there?
Yeah, he's as long as there is a flame to light, Gwen's soul is now
Basically, when
bound
he
into
linked it the first
protecting that
time,
flame.
he probably didn't even realize it at the time, but he was linking it for life. And it was more or less that other
Yeah,
people coming in would be adding fuel to the flame. I could see that. All right, I dig that.
yeah. We're not good at
Well,
lore by any means,
it
so
all is.
it's all just like
I've
speculation.
dug so deep into some of these lore things, and so many of them are just like, oh, it's theorized that it's this. It's theorized that it's this. I mean, people are still trying to figure out if Dark Souls 2 takes place one cycle after Dark Souls 1 or 1,000 cycles after Dark Souls 1.
And I heard a great theory about Dark Souls 2 that there's an item that you get in Aldia's Keep that is so present in Aldia's Keep, but it's so rare in Dark Souls 1 that it's like, I don't think it's Vinheim in Dark Souls 1, but because Orbic of Vinheim is in this game, I'm just going to say it's Vinheim. So it's like, in Dark Souls 1, you can get this super rare ring from a traveler from the far off land of Vinheim that is renowned for their sorceries or something. And then in Dark Souls 2, in Aldia's Keep, it is just full of items of that group of
Vinheim
sorcerers.
is a mentioned location in Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3.
Okay, so maybe it is. So like maybe Aldia's Keep is supposed to be Vinheim, and as they say in the opening cutscene to Dark Souls 2, uh, maybe not in Dark Souls 2. I think it's the cat that says it in Dark Souls 2 that the way time works is that kingdoms fall and rebuild on top of each other. So Aldia's Keep is just built off of Vinheim, and
Yeah,
then
there was
Vinheim
that.
rebuilds
I
on top of
did
Aldia's
read
Keep.
that theory.
So, and it could just be called Aldia's Keep instead of Vinheim because Aldia is the master of the domain, and he just decides to call it after his name because he's selfish, or something like that. I don't know.
All right.
Um, Dark Souls 1 favorite boss.
See, I'm kind of torn. I really liked Artorias because I really liked the lore behind him. But as far as like wow factor, like the first time you come across Gaping Dragon, if you don't know what you're coming into and you see that, like you first see his head pop up and you're like, oh, that's cool. It kind of looks like a Komodo dragon. He's going to be a dragon. And then he rears back like that, and you're like, oh, no. Not to mention he's tough, and then if you don't kill the
Yeah,
channeler before you go down there, the channeler is going to be buffing him, making it much harder.
I've never
I've
made that
seen someone
mistake.
make that mistake, but I did not.
Because whenever I find like a boss door, my immediate reaction is to
That's
explore
how
the
I do.
rest of the area.
So, Gaping Dragon. I'm probably gonna go with Gaping Dragon. Like his boss fight itself probably wasn't anything too crazy, but just the presentation, the style, I really dug it. He was super cool. I mean, Nito too. Nito was really cool.
I think I'm gonna have to. Nito and Gaping Dragon are well, aside from Artorias, but Artorias basically exists in Dark Souls 3. So I think about him every time I fight the Legion.
I do not recall that.
The Abyss Watchers are the descendants
Oh,
of Artorias. That's why when you level up their covenant, you're giving
that
items to
makes
a
sense.
wolf. Yeah, so like I think of Artorias all the time because that's what the Abyss Watchers are. They are the followers
Gotcha.
of the teachings of Artorias.
Yeah, that
They
makes
fight
sense.
the Abyss, and that's all they do. So it's either Gaping Dragon or Nito the first bitch. I mean Nito the first undead. That joke still sticks with me because holy crap, was it so
It's
easy to
true.
kill Nito for me? You were like, man, he's killed me already, and I'm like,
Every
I got
time.
this.
Every
Let me at
time.
him.
What other? What did I say? I liked
You liked Nito, you liked Gaping Dragon,
for the
and you liked
first game. Yeah.
Artorias. Yeah. And the third game, you liked Walner, and you
I
liked
did like
Nameless
Nameless
King.
King, but I think I mean these are all in terms of like presentation. Yeah, and there's so like I could just
Presentation.
go on about some of them. The dancer was probably my least favorite as far as presentation. Um, just kind of slinking
Uh,
down from the ceiling.
there was a. Did you see the the
The music
Science of Dark
theory
Souls video on Game
for the
Theory?
dancer, yeah, that I
Yes,
appreciated. I liked that a lot.
that was that was a great video,
Uh,
and it definitely makes sense that if the music of the dancer is in a different timestamp than the rest of the game, and you use the music as like your pacing key, just changing that
yep.
pacing key will ruin you, which will explain why the dancer
Dancer was
is
kicking my
such a
butt,
brutal boss
kicking
fight.
it. I had to hide behind a pillar, and sometimes that wasn't enough because she would do a certain stab attack that would go right through it, and if I wasn't careful, I'd have gone.
So I had kid gloves on the entirety of co-op, and I knew I did, and I just didn't say anything.
Kid gloves? What do you mean
Yeah, I
kid
had kid
gloves?
gloves on the entire time. There is a miracle I've had the ability to cast since co-op in Dark Souls 3 started that increases my defense and increases my damage. And it
That
has
sounds
no downside.
that
And it
sounds
would have
pretty
buffed you if you
nice.
were standing next to me. And I refused to use it the entirety of the game.
Hmm. Sure.
So, this is mainly a chat thing. You guys know how I was putting up like 2,000
I'm
damage
gonna
combos
heal
on
with
some
this.
bosses? With this spell active, I was doing 3 to 4,000 damage combos. So I absolutely intentionally sabotaged co-op. Yeah, that was the very rude thing I did to Colin for about, I think it took us 3 weeks for the Ring City, and then 5 weeks. It took us 2 months to do the entirety of Dark Souls 3. It's one stream a week, so 8 streams. So for 8 weeks, I was intentionally sabotaging our progress. Um, but I was nice because I very early on in co-op told Colin about the Sunlight Straight Sword, and the weapon art for Sunlight Straight Sword is the same buff that I use, and I just don't think he ever used it. So he knew it existed, and I just refused to use it. But he had the ability the entire time. Colin is taking care of some real life incident he had happen sometime this week. He was waiting on a phone call or
No,
something,
I
so
had
I'm
to go
assuming
buy
it
it,
happened.
and then I grabbed it.
Okay. So I was just telling them about how. Remember how I told you the Sunlight Straight Sword
Yeah.
buffs your attack and defense if you use the weapon art? I had the miracle I had
Oh,
was the exact same buff.
I mean, I have tried that buff. It did not work well for me.
Yeah, it was. It's very effective for me. I went from doing like 2,000 damage combos on bosses to 3 or 4,000 damage combos.
Guess I never really tried it on an enemy.
Yeah, you can hit very hard with it if you're laying
Sounds
into someone.
so good.
And apparently, this is what I learned doing some research after I beat the game. You know Destructo
Yes.
Disc and how worthless it is? On large bosses, if you get the distance right, and you know how
Mm-hmm.
Destructo Disc pauses before it comes back, you can get it to pause inside of the boss's hitbox, and
That's
it'll do like
that's a nice
3,000
thing to
damage.
know. That'd be great.
I fully intend on using that on Nameless King. I'm gonna put that right inside of the dragon and just run through that part of the fight.
I'm going to try this thing here. I'm gonna buff myself. See how we get to do how we do. Isn't there an enemy that way? I don't know where I'm at. Oh wait, I need to do the weapon art, which is that one.
Okay, so this is the footage playing is now from the very beginning of Dark Souls 3 co-op.
Wow, that would have been a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice buff. It makes doing boss rush a lot easier. I'm gonna skip ahead like 5 minutes because I remember doing 5 minutes of setup and it was just disgusting.
So, what are your favorite normal enemies that aren't bosses or mini bosses?
Um, the Pus of Man was a really cool enemy that we didn't
No, we
see all that
tended
much.
to try and take them out, and we skipped a lot of them at the Lothar Castle.
Yep. Mainly because they have the weird. They have the same weakness as beasts, and if I just hit them, they uh they die because they're super
I did not have good luck
susceptible to
with
fire.
them. Like, it was always pretty reliable that they were going to kill me.
Yeah. The Boreal Knights were an interesting concept. I don't think I mean, the Boreal Knights kind of reminded me of what they did with the Pursuer and Scholar of the First Sin.
Those are the tall kind of dudes before Pontiff Sullivan.
No. The Boreal Knights are the four Frost Knights. Sorry, those are the Outrider Knights, my bad. The Outrider Knights are the four Frost Knights
Oh,
that are scattered throughout the game. The one that's right before,
basically the mini dancers.
yeah.
Yeah, they were cool and hard. I don't think I could kill one.
I absolutely always cheesed the first one, because if you run through the door and turn around, he can't fit through the door and you can still hit him. Either with arrows
Oh
or with
wait, I
a
was thinking of something else then.
halberd.
You're talking the big spider thing.
No. It's the four
Okay.
knights in
Well, I
silver
don't
armor
remember
with
one
frost
being stuck
weapons.
in a door. I remember the big spider dude being stuck in a door.
Uh the the clock tower where you first meet Siegvard.
Wait, don't I first meet? No, okay, I do meet him earlier.
Yeah, when you meet him
Yeah,
when he's talking about the lift being a puzzle. Yeah. So when you go down to the basement, the
gotcha.
boss, the little enemy that's right there, those are the
Very
Outrider
neat.
Knights.
I think my favorite was going to be a little more bland. It was going to be the in the areas with the crabs. There's like the kind of tall monster that has like the cross looking thing on its back. Not not the zombie dudes, but the one that just
Okay, I
raged.
know what you're
Like,
talking about. Yeah, the I think he's in a some enemy afflicted with abyss. I think that's what we decided the red eyes mean.
I think we did. Yeah. Well, we inquired about that. But yeah, he was.
Yeah.
There was something really cool about him. I liked his design. I liked. He felt very aggressive. He was always a lot of fun, and a little bit scary to aggro.
I never really seemed to have a problem with them. It was always just like, okay, back up and
Yeah,
then just start wailing on them. Because their combo always had a huge opening in
it
it.
did. It took me a while to figure it out. That's everything in this game.
So, side missions. Those were not really a thing in Dark Souls 2.
Side missions. You just mean doing random things
Yeah.
that NPCs ask for?
So, yeah, like for Siegvard's thing, we had to solve the elevator puzzle for Siegvard,
Get his armor.
kill the stray demon, get his armor back, free him from
Yeah.
his cell, and then help him kill the boss.
You know, I've still never talked to that Rosario girl. I have no idea what's up with her. Gotcha.
She is a PvP covenant. Yeah, you open up your covenant equipment at the beginning of the game, and there's no Rosaria's fingers in there, so you're missing an achievement just for talking to her.
I didn't want to upset the one chick.
Yes, you if you become one of Rosaria's fingers, you do upset uh, Cirrus of the Sunless Realm.
I wanted to be nice to her.
And that leads to an interesting thing. So, Dark Souls is a series built on characters moving
In
between
different
games.
world, like dimensions, yeah.
you didn't have a whole lot of uh recurring characters in Dark Souls 2 to my knowledge. I think the closest you get is finding Havel's armor in a chest.
Like recurring NPCs. Yeah, I don't recall any
Yeah.
beyond essentially Manus in a way through Manus's daughters.
Yeah, the man is split into 4 parts after we killed him, and then those became Nasandra, is like Elysium or something, and then the Ice Queen that doesn't want to help the Abyss. She actually wants you to seal off the Abyss below her castle. And the fourth one, who I don't remember.
Now we never, well, you never actually beat Manus, right? Like we gave up on that for co-op.
Yeah, we couldn't beat Calamite, which is par for the course. We apparently suck at fighting dragons.
The dragon in this game is tough. Like I was trying to do the thing where you just try to get it to do these attacks, and every time those attacks would just do massive amounts of damage to me, even though I felt like I was blocking them. And nope, apparently I wasn't.
Uh, Lucatale of Mara is in Dark Souls 2, and her armor set is in 2 places in Dark Souls 3. It's behind a tower, and her helmet is with the Raven. So her she reoccurs in the same way that Havel reoccurs in Dark Souls 2. It's just her gear shows up. And then you've got Andre, the blacksmith, who shows up in 1 and 3. The giant smith technically shows up in 1 and 3. But yeah, reoccurring characters didn't happen all that much in Dark Souls, which kind of made the series as a series feel disjointed, and they're related by name and not by anything else.
Uh,
Because if I remember correctly, hollows, even if they go hollow, are
Technically,
technically
well, I mean,
immortal.
from what I recall, before the Age of Fires, there were only hollows. Fire was what brought, like, I don't know, I guess humanity.
I'm gonna bow out to you on this one. I don't know
I
all that
just
much
remember
about Dark
looking up
Souls 1's lore.
the beginning at some point, and they were just trying to suggest that before the Age of Fire, it was just like a pit of hollows. Like it was just mindless bodies, and I guess they were ruled by the dragons at the time. Then the Age of Fire brought an end to that.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, the hollows technically live forever, so there was really outside of characters that we kill, who technically would respawn anyway, the same as the player character does. There was no reason we couldn't have like recurring characters. Aside from the fact that Dark Souls 1 was made by one team and Dark Souls 2 was made by a
I mean, they
different team,
still would have had access to
because
all that information.
oh yeah, there's no reason they wouldn't have been able to like, hey, we can get some of your character models and then improve the meshes and whatever to scale them up to what we're doing for the new game,
I mean, I'd like to
or just
see a kind of
retexture them
post mortem
entirely.
on that. Like, what were what were the decisions they had to make for Dark Souls 2? Like how long were they talking about doing it in what is it, Lordran? Versus, maybe all along
Yeah.
they wanted to do it in a different place. Like maybe it was completely intentional the way that they absolutely just did all of it. It just seems suspicious since they don't reference it too
I
much in 3.
I mean, you do get some references in 3. You absolutely have Vendrick's shield, and I refuse to
You even
unequip
had
that for the
Earthen
entirety of
Peaks.
co-op. Yeah, you specifically visit Earthen Peaks in the Ring City, and you are met with
Danger.
an invader that
That's
is
right, the
very
giant smith,
specific to Earthen
blacksmith
Peaks.
did die. That was sad.
And Andre's sad about it too, so we're all sad about it. That was like the big tie to be like, oh, this is the same character that it is in Dark Souls 1, because if you give the giant coal to
Yeah,
Andre, he's actually sad.
which means he's been alive for so long and somehow hasn't gone hollow. Seems like the things that make people go hollow, it just depends. It's like once you fulfill your purpose, it tends to make you hollow.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thought I had when I was thinking about this a while ago is the driving force behind people going hollow is when they are branded with the dark sign, they are given a singular task. They don't know what that singular task is, but they are given a singular task. And when they finish that singular task, they go hollow.
I guess it's like I don't know, their drive. Once they lose their drive,
Because the characters that went hollow, like Hovel the Rock went hollow after helping Gwen
right?
end the Age of Dragons. So his singular task would have been, as a Knight of Gwen, to just murk dragons.
Solaire goes hollow if he gets his sunlight maggot.
Yeah, if he finds the sunlight, he goes hollow.
Apparently, sometimes he goes hollow even if you get it before he does.
That's just stupid then. Lucatiel goes hollow upon meeting her brother because her drive is to be a better swordsmith than her brother, and you get to the brother first, so she is greeted with the corpse of her brother, and that breaks her drive. So she goes hollow and is never
Essentially,
seen
it means
again.
she is better than her brother. Excuse me, because her brother is dead.
But she wasn't killed by the
Well,
player
I mean,
character
just
and the
that
brother was.
if the brother is dead, chances are you are better at sword fighting than your dead brother. I mean, unless you're really bad at
Yeah.
it.
So her hollowing is implicit because you never see her again. She doesn't invade you or anything. Um, Ornstein might go hollow.
Ornstein? Who?
Yeah. His job is, I'm assuming his job is simply protect Lady Gwendolyn.
Well, I mean,
Guinevere, not Gwendolyn. My bad.
you're not completely wrong. It is all
Um,
an illusion.
so you kill
Yep.
Ornstein and Smo. So that just causes Ornstein and I guess Smo to reincarnate. So they can keep trying to fulfill their job. You meet him again in Dark Souls 2. I guess still trying to do his
Which would
job,
be weird
but
though, since Gwendolyn's
failing.
not in 2 anywhere. Well,
Yeah,
I
Guinevere's
say
not in 2 at
Gwendolyn
all.
because Guinevere was an illusion. Then again, Gwendolyn, or
Yeah. Gwendolyn's referenced pretty heavily in Dark Souls 3,
well,
so I guess she's a real person.
no, Gwendolyn was in Dark Souls 3 just as a corpse though. He's the corpse that I'm gonna butcher the name. Aldrich is
Yeah,
in the
Aldrich
process of eating
eats
Gwendolyn and uses his
Gwendolyn.
body against the player.
But Guinevere is if I remember correctly, the mother of Lothric, Lorien, the person in the cage, and someone else. Like, it's implied they are her children. Because she's mentioned pretty hardcore in a lot of the Lothric line stuff, as well as the Sun Princess ring. Because I'm doubling down on this, and I got to make sure I'm right.
I just wonder if Guinevere, because in Dark Souls 1, Guinevere was uh, not in on Orlando. Like she was gone, and they never really.
She had run off.
So I mean, if Smo and Ornstein were also in Dark Souls 2, I mean, is it suggesting that perhaps the real Smo and Ornstein went with her?
Um, so here's the
Okay.
description from the Sun Princess ring in Dark Souls 3. Ring associated with Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight and eldest daughter of Gwen, the First Lord. Skipping the paragraph that's about what the thing does. Guinevere left her home with a great many other deities and became wife and mother, raising several heavenly children. So that's, I guess, where it's implied that the line of Lothric descends directly from Guinevere, which is why they're so big on linking the flame, and which is why it's so weird that Lorien wants nothing to do with linking the flame.
I'm seeing Guinevere is the second-born child and only known daughter of the former Lord of Sunlight, and was cherished by all as a symbol of bounty and fertility, along with many of the other gods who resided in Gwen's kingdom. The Princess of Sunlight eventually abandoned Orlando and later married the god of flame, Flan. Now, who is Flan, and why is that not working?
I don't think he's ever mentioned again. I've never heard that character. Remember when we used
Yep.
Skype video share to do this?
Dark times.
Dark times 2 months ago. I'm just noticing how much I will stand around and spin the move stick to do nothing. Like if I'm waiting for you to do something, I will just stand there and spin the move stick and make my character act like
Can't
an
really
idiot.
blame you.
Or the other thing I'd do is just mash guard to do the like pulling my shield in and out, like I'm trying to hit something, like a fly.
Old Dragon Slayer and Dark Souls 2. Ornstein's has a moveset. Is reminiscent of a certain knight that appears in old legends. There are many theories currently going around trying to prove or disprove this being Ornstein as far as Dark Souls 2. Things we do know so far. Old Dragon Slayer drops the old Leo ring, which both the effect and description seem to match with it being the Leo ring worn down over time. The Leo ring description in Dark Souls says it was given to Ornstein. Old Dragon Slayer uses dark magic, whereas Ornstein did not. However, Artorias, being corrupted by the Abyss, also used dark magic, meaning he could be corrupted like Artorias. In regards to the above, it is possible that the player character in the first game killing Smo first, causing Ornstein to absorb his essence, is the canonical order of the death, as Old Dragon Slayer is larger than Ornstein, but smaller than Smo absorbed Ornstein, possibly representing a wearing of his armor or, as previously mentioned, a result of being corrupted. It's also possible that Ornstein's body was brought back to life through a powerful hex, as he happens to be using dark attacks and hex magic manipulates life. In this game, it is common occurrence for great souls to appear again in new form. In this case, the magic is now dark rather than lightning. The Tower of Flame area is greatly reminiscent of an Orlando from the first Dark Souls. Since the princess from the first game was but an illusion generated by Gwendolyn, it can be speculated that Ornstein might have been also. Since the giants fled on Orlando, the princess might have fled to Drangleic. This would explain Ornstein's being here, as he was tasked with the defense of the princess, so he would have followed her. However, the old knights that guard the area look nothing like any of the soldiers who protected on Orlando. This leaves much to speculation, however, as there are no other initial clues or hints towards the princess's residence. So, I'm at least happy that my theory was at the end there. And the other aspect to that about the old knights not looking anything like any of the other soldiers, we don't know how much time has passed between 1 and 2.
Yeah. And they also don't have the same smiths that would have been in Anor Londo. And as a common occurrence in real world, uh, the Western Middle Ages, each smith and smith culture had their own distinctive style. So if you're in a different
The
area and
armors
say
that the soldiers wear would look drastically different.
the yeah, yeah, you would dress your soldiers differently for
Unless you
each
were a
indigenous
specific
area.
person like the Dragon Slayer, because you would want to keep your armor unique to you.
Yes, you would commission a higher smith, a finer craftsman than you would for your troops to do your piece.
So that's going to be my theory. My guess is that we didn't actually kill Smo and Ornstein. That was a different representation of them that was part of Gwendolyn's illusion.
Or because you never see Smo again, we killed Smo and Ornstein fled, taking Smo's armor with him because you find Smo's armor scattered throughout. Well, not in 2, but you do find it in 3.
So thinking that the correct order is killing the big guy first, and then Ornstein second. But we don't actually kill Ornstein.
He through the use of
Magic.
Gwendolyn's illusions makes an escape with
I
Guinevere.
mean, Guinevere would have been gone a long time ago, though. Because, I mean,
That's true. But that doesn't. Something would still have to kill Smo for his armor to be found without Smo, but we find Ornstein
Smo could have
again.
died anywhere. Or maybe Smo did stay behind and Ornstein was the illusion. Yeah,
Something like that. We'll never know the answer. I think the writing team behind Dark Souls specifically
I
said they'll
wonder if
never
they
like
have
give
like
a
a
straight
legit
answer,
Bible though.
and it's
Like I wonder if they have a totally legit understanding, like they have a document somewhere that has very clear links to everything, what every character actually does, and then they just dumb down the information that they relay to the player in the game to make it more of a puzzle.
I don't think they have a Bible because prior to Dark Souls 3 coming out, they issued a challenge to YouTube to sum up the story of the Dark Souls franchise for a new
But that
player.
could have been a challenge, like because
And if they
they know that their story is convoluted. Or
but if they had a Bible, then they could very easily just be like, here is the Dark Souls Bible. If you care
well, I
about the
don't think they
lore,
want that
just
though. I
read
think
this.
they wanted people to become active in guessing again. They wanted people talking about it. That's a marketing strategy.
Okay, as a person who enjoys marketing, I can see the value in making it so people would make videos that challenged other videos, and that causes sharing or controversy or something that is marketable
Yeah, it
and
just gets
causes
the
active
community
engagement.
talking,
There we
gets
go.
everybody talking. I
You looked at my summon sign and ran the other
do what I
way.
can. I don't know how I missed that.
The motions you made running up the stairs made it look like I was watching your Skype
It
video
probably
and went, hey,
was.
turn around. So I think we've beaten this horse to death. We've done almost two
I think we've
hours
done a
of just
pretty good
talking.
sum up of what we liked about it.
A little bit of Doctor Who and a little bit of why the
I mean,
hell is
how else are we going to
Ornstein in
explain time
multiple
travel?
games?
I mean, I even mentioned the DeLorean.
The most relatable way we know how.
How
The
dare
DeLorean's not relevant anymore, though.
Hey,
So Doctor Who is
how
absolutely a
dare you?
relevant way to go.
Doesn't matter.
When that movie come out,
It was like 85.
it's
It's
about as
those
relevant as all the
it's such
games
a
we
good
play.
trilogy. They're so good.
Didn't they get sued over the
Kinda,
second
yeah.
one?
Because it was Crispin Glover could not return for the second movie due to being enjoying some extracurricular substances. Uh, and then I guess Zemeckis and team, when they decided to make prosthetics for another actor, they decided to use the prosthetics that they had from the first movie left over, and they didn't get Crispin's permission to use those for that movie. So he technically should have gotten some credit in the second movie.
And didn't they also completely reuse the like
Oh
prom
yeah,
or dance scene from the first movie and didn't credit anyone who was part of that scene, including the
that
musical
wouldn't
act?
be true because they had to reshoot a lot of those actors as well. Like the whole,
I remember that
I
scene
don't
got them in some
recall
hot
that
water as well.
because they had to shoot more scene. I mean, maybe the extras got upset about it, but uh, I mean, the band had additional scenes shot. Uh, they did have a stand-in for Crispin, but they never showed his face, I think. They always kind of blurt it out with another actor.
I'm enjoying. This is the start of us doing our invaders dirty.
Invaders dirty?
Yeah, you summon a guy who starts fighting the invader, and then I show up. The guy you summon kills
Oh,
the invader, and I kill the guy you summon.
everybody wins. Except me, I guess.
This is the start of when we just
I still
weren't
like
good
doing
to
the
our people.
seed of a giant tree. Oh, you know what?
The seed would have been great here because he was hiding amongst the Lothric knights, and if those turned on him,
I bet I can get one.
he would have been
I'm
in a
gonna see
world
if
of
I
hurt.
get another one. Not that I'm ever gonna use them anymore.
Oh man, I gotta. Okay, go forward more.
Seed of a giant tree. Alright.
I have gone forward. Okay, I think this is right. So, you have just entered Undead Parish, Undead
And
Burg.
village.
Yeah. So this is when the guy invades you, right when we remember when I
Settlement.
remember Seed of
Undead
the Giant
settlement.
Tree exists. So this is when we really did someone wrong. Invaded by Dark Spirit Joshua, who we then chased down into the village square. I think that was the worst thing we ever did, and I'm surprised you or I never got a message on
I'm not sure they
Steam
can.
about it. I'm sure we show up for the
Maybe,
people
but my
you've
guess
recently
is they're
played with
invading
list.
everybody and they don't know which one's doing it.
Okay, you're right. I mean, frankly, if someone did this to me and I was legitimately upset about it, I would immediately just go on my recently
Message
played with
everyone.
list and send it to that person.
Figure out one of them.
Which one of you
Who
dicks is
done it?
using the seed of a giant tree?
Oh yeah, shout out to the Demon Prince area, basically being the original Firelink Shrine.
The Demon Prince area. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about. The Demon Prince's boss fight, which was great. Hated that boss fight with a passion. But yeah, that was not a great boss fight, but it was a cool. When you pointed out that we were walking down the stairwell, that was basically where
Yeah,
Cramped was.
that
That was
it
super
was so
cool.
cool. When I walked in there, I was like, "Wow, this looks familiar." Yeah, I know that pillar knocked over right there. I did a lot of running away from skeletons in there.
Back when I thought Dark Pyromancy was a good
I
idea.
knew pyromancy was never a good idea. I learned that in Dark Souls 1.
I'm pretty sure by the end of Ring City, my entire spell list was all
That
miracles.
was something I hated, was the pyromancy, because I would always I'd fight like a couple monsters on the way to the boss fight, and I'd exhaust all my spells on those few bosses. And I'm like, great.
It was the Pyromancy in Dark Souls 1, which is when you used it,
It
was
really
so
was.
dinky
I
and
wish I had
worthless.
tried sorcery if I really wanted something. But I kind of thought pyromancy led into sorcery, which was foolish in hindsight. I blame.
I think the reason it was so bad. Also, this guy used all of his flasks. He is the worst kind of invader. He has no respect. Yeah, I don't think you stepped in this boss fight until, I mean, this invasion, until he took a
You're
drink.
probably right, because that's exactly what I
And
do.
then it was all gloves are off.
If they're being legit, man, I'll let them do an honorable fight.
Oh yeah, and he's trying to bait us into the village where all the enemies are by clapping, and I just keep sitting down.
Which one of us uses the?
You don't know the giant seed exists until
Gotcha.
I drop it on the ground and say use it. You chase him off, and then he goes back to hiding, and then I sit down and go, "Oh, hey, I have a solution." We did this guy wrong like 8 ways to Sunday. Like I chased him into the crowd and did giant seed, and then when the crowd was no longer chasing him, I put on the ring that makes it so enemies target you from further out, and brought more enemies to chase him down. Like I did this guy all kinds of wrong, just because he's like you're playing scummy. I have no problems wronging you here.
Yep, here it comes. Yeah, I'm gonna
So
start
you're
pushing
pulling
them
off the
back.
Dragon Slayer bow. I hate that the I understand why they do it. I just hate that the great bows once you aim, you're
Even if it was
fixed.
like
You can't
extra
really
slow,
move.
I'd be okay with that. But just having some movement.
You put that one right in his head. That was a bit rude.
He's looking at you. I
Yeah, I
liked that
chase
it
him
was
all the way
right when he
back
was
into the
clapping
crowd and
too.
run away.
Like, oh yeah, sure. Oh no.
And it sticks with him for a while because projectiles
Yeah,
stay
I
active
always
for
love it
like
when
60 seconds
projectiles
or
stick
something.
around. Did I pick up the thing yet?
Oh, there was a really interesting quality of life mod added to Fallout 4 recently. And it is a mod. And it just makes it so that shells and magazines stay on the ground longer after you eject them.
All right, this is you giving it to me.
I think this is our crowning
I
moment
believe
for
you are
all of
correct.
co-op Dark Souls 3. Like this set us on the path of how we deal with
I mean,
every other
certainly any
invader.
that fight like a D-bag and try and lure us out to other enemies.
And then all of the enemies slowly get up and look at him. And then he goes and stands by the well and thinks he's safe, and I get tired of it, so I go and hunt him down to try and force him to deal with enemies. That music could play with what's going on right now, and it would be perfectly fitting. Like he's just running from enemies and trying to fight us, and then run away from the enemies behind him.
Oh man, I think he was trying to lure us out there too some more.
Ah, good night, Camino. I'm gonna try and do a good long solo stream tomorrow. I accidentally unlocked Sleeper Simulant while I was doing patrol missions to get helium filaments. So we've got Sleeper Simulant and G Horn to do tomorrow, and I'd like to knock those out. Yeah, I bet you he was upset that we were playing dirty when we used the seed of a giant tree. And then it just got worse because I wasn't gonna accept it.
That harvester came out of nowhere.
And here's me trying to push him back to the fire tree where all of the enemies still are. He's gotten pretty good at
Like, when I
realizing the
use
enemies
my
are
Estus
behind him and
now,
whatnot.
like, we do not care, guy. You suck.
Okay, and I just stop moving and have you take human shield, and I'm gonna play this guy really dirty now. So, as you notice, the kid gloves have come off. I'm now purple again.
Yep, good night, Camino. In case you're still here. I know I'm late.
And me being purple now makes all of the enemies aggro on me from a farther range.
Gotcha, so now you're pulling them to you.
Yeah, so I'm pulling. I run to him, and that pulls all of the enemies. And there's the evangelist trying to hug him. And that makes more harvesters chase him down.
He's got to be nearly out of Estus Flask, right? Like,
I he's out of he
okay,
uses
so
his last
he's
Estus flask now. Because I was counting them the entire encounter. And you can have 6 at most. But now he tries to play super aggressive, and you kill me. And he runs away with basically no health. And he sets up behind a tree and does either an item heal or puts on a healing ring.
I can't believe I killed you.
Well, that was the entire point of what we did for co-op. Was that because we were using the mound maker,
Yeah.
everything was friendly fire. Just something that I would love it if the next Soulsborne game you could do the entire game in actual jolly cooperation
Yeah.
with friendly fire on. You didn't need a covenant.
Would be interesting if they changed that. Can't believe I missed that shot.
Because then it's just it actually made the game harder. Because we couldn't
Yeah, you could
double team a boss.
bunch up and start slashing
had to,
away.
like-
You had to kind of coordinate.
Yeah, because if you bunch up and start slashing away, you kill your partner. Even on my Demon Fist that has 0 range, I would still end up just like catching you with a wide hook and you'd be dead. You summon me back in, and he's hiding off behind a corner. He tries to engage you. You get rid of all of his health because you're just... I think you're actually a better fighter than he is. Because he came in and hit you once, and you hit
I
him
just
4
gotta
times.
start my combo and hope that it breaks their poise a little bit.
And he's laying on the ground. I remember he lays on the ground. Because you don't want to walk down to fight him. Because little does he know that I'm back. And I really regret that I didn't switch back to double cam. Yeah, he lays on the ground and you just look at him. And Dark Firewall comes out of the sky. Wow, that's really rude of what you did right there.
The bow.
Yeah. That was perhaps the most disrespectful thing of the entire fight.
Yep.
Was your like,
Go
good
back
game,
to hell,
sir?
please.
Whereas mine, I started fairly early on. Mine was just welcome. Like I did buy my sword, and then maybe in part 2, I accidentally hit welcome, and that just became my emote. Of just every time I'd killed someone, I'd just sit there and go, ha ha.
Yeah, I always go to the bow.
Dang it. You should have done point down.
I'm bad at doing that. I don't even think I have it on my thing anymore. Yeah, I do have one.
I, I think point down is supposed to be disrespectful. Because I saw people getting really angry about it on
Well,
the
I think
Dark Souls
it comes
general
off like a
discussion.
and stay down, or like that's where you belong. You
Yeah.
are below me.
When in reality, I still think welcome is the most like demeaning taunt emote. I just killed you. Welcome to Dark Souls. Or just welcome to whatever your fate's going to be if you try to invade me again.
Checking out all the different emotes now.
There's
No, I
you
definitely
don't
don't.
have all of them, I don't think, because I don't think you have the achievement for it. It is midnight, and I think for like we started to end the stream, and then I just pulled this clip up because
It was a good one.
to me
Yeah,
it was
I
the
think
highlight
we're
of the
good.
entire run.
I think we've covered our bases pretty well. I feel pretty good about
So
it.
so
That
that
has
has
been Dark
been
Souls.
over the course of two
Yep,
years.
so
That has
good.
been Dark Souls.
Oh
If
God, I would
Bloodborne
get so
ever
excited.
makes it to PC
Or PS Now, yeah,
or
I'd be willing.
PS Now, because you can play PS Now on your PC.
I would be willing.
We'd go back and do Bloodborne, which I think farming you need insight to do summons, and I think farming insight is
To be fair, Kicking It, we
stupidly
didn't start
difficult.
playing dirty until he started playing dirty. Like, it was only one on one between Adam and that guy, and then he used an Estus flask. And to me, when you use an Estus flask, like, it's like the gloves come off. Like, that's the biggest slap in the face to me.
In a PvP sense. Like, I think the developers agree with that because
In the actual
the
PvP mode, they don't really let you have any.
in the actual PvP mode, you have a single
I think
flask
some game
and you
modes
get
don't even
one
give you
back when
one.
you kill someone.
Well, yeah,
But you also
but
get full health upon killing a target.
that's kind of where my head's at. Like,
Well, that might just be
I
for
don't know.
1v1. If it's just for 1v1, then giving you back full health and magic is the first fight is over, reset the slate, go
I'm
again.
not a fan of using Estus. There's just
I use Estus situationally. Like if I'm facing someone who's like super meta, I'm intentionally going to do something to make their fight longer.
I tend to just try and
Just because
well, I mean, I really don't know the meta too well, so I don't know what I'm saying.
I just assume
Possibly.
anyone using a greatsword is meta.
Uh,
I find no I find no joy in playing games correctly, as demonstrated by the Demon Fist Fallout 4 survival mode, which is technically correct. It is a developer added
yeah,
mode to make the game masochistic. And the way I'm currently playing Destiny, I don't find joy in playing games right.
and that's funny because I'm the opposite. I find all the joy in playing the games right, and I have that uh, very prominent anytime that I play a Sonic game because I don't try to glitch the levels at all. I always try to
but you're also not a min
That is also
maxer
true.
because you hate stats. Like when I say meta gameplay, I refer to like the
Gotcha.
min maxers and stuff like that. God, the Borderlands playthrough we did, which I purged from my memory.
I totally
I
also
forgot we
forgot that
played
we played
Borderlands.
Borderlands. I don't miss it.
I remembered that when I talked
I
about min
don't
maxing.
miss it. I got pretty tired of going to a treasure chest like, ooh, what kind of things did I get? Nothing. Sell it.
Dad, you're gonna love Dead Rising 3.
I was hoping I'd actually like Dead Rising 3.
It's a campy zombie game. It is by no means
Yeah, I have gathered that.
serious.
I mean, I gathered that just from Dead Rising 1's demo that I played. I was already running around with stupid weapons.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any real stats. It's just like your stuff breaks, you get more stuff, and you go. I think that's like the as far into stats as you go. It's just like,
If
well, my
it's
weapon's
like part
broken.
of
I
the
need a new
game
weapon.
where you're expected to go through weapons fast, I'm down with that. Like,
I think you can get perks to slow weapon degradation, but you're absolutely intended to just be like, it's a zombie apocalypse. You're gonna pick up whatever's on hand to
yeah,
kill
if you're not
zombies.
supposed to be married to a weapon, I'm I'm all for that. That sounds fun to me because for me, Borderlands, it feels like I need to find the weapon with the highest stats and hold on to it for dear life.
Yeah, that was absolutely how I played Borderlands. So
If it's
I
just
would
part of
agree
the
with you.
game of having to go through weapons, that's a totally different thing, and I'm all over that.
And as you play through the game, you end up getting like different weapon combinations. So being married to a game early on doesn't help you. Well, being married to a weapon early on doesn't help you because it's just like that combination you found might be way better than what you have, but you'll only be able to use it a limited time, but
Yeah.
you'll also be able to make infinite copies of it. Oh yeah, I got stuck behind a door only you could open. Let me out. There's a hole. There's a hole. Let me out. I could see you pause and look down the hole, and I could see you considering not going down and
It's
helping
like
me.
I could, or yeah, okay. Surprised it didn't kill me as soon as I opened the door. Min maxers annoy me. They're also ridiculously stubborn about every infinitesimal fraction of a percentage point. While I'm just happy playing with my favorite gear and still beating enemies. I hate games that reward min maxers and punish casuals, though. I think I personally just miss the type of game where the weapons are scattered on the map and you just pick them up as you go. Like to one point, to one argument that I always saw, it it kind of punishes new players because they don't know where all the secret weapons are and all that. But ideally, the weapons won't really be in a secret location. They're gonna be just out and about. You just have to get to them without dying to get the better weapon and then use that weapon.
That's that's kind of how Dead Rising is, because there's like set areas you can go to find gear. Like you're not gonna find
I mean, I'm even
uh
thinking just classic
da-da-da.
Unreal Tournament and Halo 1.
Oh yeah, absolutely you have to go around the map and find stuff. It's like in Dead Rising, it's like, oh, if you want to make a combo weapon, like in Dead Rising 4, I think the best weapon is the ice sword. You need a sword and you need liquid nitrogen. You just have to know it's like, oh, this is a place that would logically have liquid nitrogen. You just need to remember to go there to restock on the ice sword.
And kinging it. That's why I don't like stats on on games that have a plethora of weapons, because in the end it comes down to everybody getting their one weapon, leveling it up, and using that weapon. Everyone's going to do it. Everyone's going to start with that weapon as far as when they start a PvP match, and everyone's just going to be on the same playing field. What I miss, huh?
That's something they tried to address in Dark Souls 3. They removed armor upgrades. Like in Dark Souls 1, I had my sack plus 10
It's true. Yeah.
because memes. In Dark Souls 2, I basically only used the Drangleic gear until I jokingly was able to use Havel's gear, and I did that just because I could until I got to the Singer shirt, and I got that to +5 or +10 or whatever it was. But in this game, you can't upgrade your armor.
Yeah.
Armor is fixed. I think in this one fight with this one NPC, he uses more weapon arts than you use in the entire playthrough. Because he just
Yeah,
hit
I'm
me
not
with
gonna lie.
3 of
I'm
them in a row.
terrible at the weapon art thing. Really, until I think last week, I totally forgot about him.
Yep, that's me still using By My Sword, not using Welcome yet.
Um, but yeah, I just miss games where you start out with the basic gear and you have to survive long enough to get a better weapon, and it's only for that life. And so you're either faced with the choice of getting really good at the most basic weapon and killing people with that using your own level of skill.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I
like
loved it,
definition
man.
Halo
God, I
CE.
missed that game. I was a god.
I didn't like Halo
It's always
CE.
funny to me when people call it CE though,
I had a
because
very good reason for not
to me as
liking
a
it though.
PC player, CE stands for Custom Edition because they made a moddable version. Well, I guess they made one that's specifically made
The
for
original
mod.
Forge.
Well, nothing like Forge, but
I think if
no,
it's a
it
first
was
pass at Forge, then Forge is
kind of.
basically
But
modding in
isn't Forge
Halo.
more like modding in engine? Yeah, this was
Yeah,
you
it's in
build your
engine
own
modding.
models in 3D Max. You run it through all these various converters and different plugins that Bungie offered, and then you had to build them into your own map and run the raycast lighting thing, and which was a pain in the butt. It was a pain in the butt. I made one map, and I think I almost had it working once. But I have made an Unreal Tournament
It almost worked.
2004 map. Happy with that one.
I
Nice.
have made a
We were
Neverwinter
almost going
Nights
to be
map.
doing that in college, and then we switched to Unreal.
Yeah, I did the. I had one. Uh, what's it called? Camp at ID Tech Camp, and it was writing. It was storyboarding, but we needed something to storyboard, so they
Ah,
also had us be map modders. So you built the map, you placed all the enemies, you placed the quest markers, you created the NPCs, and needless to say, most of them were garbage because we had never played Neverwinter, so we didn't know like what enemies were good and what enemies were bad and how to deal with things. And but I made a bear that
hey,
sold you
yep.
stuff, and that's
Put
all
that
that
on your
counts.
resume.
There was a bear that I adjusted the model size down so it was like a cub, and it was behind an invisible wall. And if you found it, you had a merchant. The dumbest thing I've ever made in a video game to date.
but it's yours.
Man, when I saw that bear was an option, I immediately knew what I was gonna do.
And yeah, King, and the stat stuff, any stat-based PvP, I feel like is just asking for headaches, and ridicule.
The I actually didn't mind old Epic Duel when like the min maxing was super easy. So before they went and fixed stats with the 10x update, you had to do like every fourth stat was the one that actually changed your stats. You didn't gain any strength until you got to strength like 4 over the previous number.
I can see that. Yeah.
So did he sell the bare necessities? Like that was super easy min maxing. So it was like, oh, hey, all of those points that I've got distributed that don't give me anything, let me just go put those into health, or let me go put those into magic, or let me
Yeah.
consolidate them and get another stat point. So that was super easy to figure out. Because it was like, there is obvious waste in this build. But stuff like Borderlands min maxing, forget it. I have no clue what's going
Yeah,
on.
I don't know any of that, but I don't even know like the actual. Uh, I don't know any real like PvP aspect to that. So min maxing, I guess, is all PvE. I don't know. Borderlands is still an enigma to me.
I don't know. There's definitely people who enjoy it. Kingdom seems to very much enjoy Borderlands 1 and 2. Or maybe it's
One
just
day,
2.
maybe we'll try to. I'll try not to complain through the whole thing. No promises. It depends. It could go either way. It just depends on how grindy it feels. I mean, it really gets stuck in my craw whenever my weapon says it has a really high accuracy and I shoot someone in the head and either it doesn't connect
It doesn't
or it just
connect.
does an insanely low amount of damage. And I'm like, I just shot this dude in the face. And it's not like he's armored. Like that's my problem. Like there was no real AI. It was just, look, here's this enemy. He's either gonna run towards you really fast and hit you, or he's gonna walk slowly and just shoot you. And then, okay, what makes that hard? Oh, well, it's gonna take you 100 bullets to kill him. It's like, so I just have to stand in front of him and try to absorb more bullets than he does and still be standing. I I don't like that. And that's my issue with Destiny, I think, was difficulty by bullet sponge.
I mean, even the only time you ever had difficulty by bullet sponge was strike bosses and. No, it's mostly strike bosses. Even the like end of mission bosses, a lot of them you can down pretty quickly.
King, and it mentions the 2 million random possibilities for guns. Well, say I prefer one gun type. That's probably, I'm going to say a quarter of that. So we'll say 500,000. 500,000 weapons that I no longer want. Maybe more. Then I want ones that have decent stats of a particular kind. Well, that's probably a whole other million that I don't want. Actually, probably even more than that. Maybe I don't care about the elementals, so now we're looking at maybe only 200,000 weapon possibilities left that I'd like to use. Let's say any of those 200,000 of the 1,800,000 I could actually live with myself with. It's 1,800,000 weapons that I could come across in the game that I will only sell.
And to make matters worse, there's this wonderful thing in Borderlands 2, which I didn't mind all that much, and that is um, the bosses have special
Yeah, I think the
weapons they'll
first game
drop.
had something like that.
Not all that many. They were definitely there, but this one's like every boss will drop a has a chance to drop a specific gun. And they're really cool guns, but are they always gonna be useful? Nah, because you level up.
The gun stays at the same range that you killed him at. So yeah, that's a
Found it
bummer.
at. Destiny sort of addressed that problem because with legendary weapons, you can upgrade them. So it's like you find a certain legendary weapon you like, it's 160 light. Well, there's nothing stopping you from taking that all the way to 400 light, which is max. Just holding on to that weapon and leveling it up.
And I hear you kinging it, but it still comes down to 1,800,000 to 1,900,000 of the weapons in the game will be weapons that I only want to sell. So are we going quality or quantity? Because if they're going quantity, they've nailed it. If they're going quality, they've completely missed the mark. Because the one quality weapon that I would really want is probably a weapon that I will never see in the game. That's my problem. That is my beef.
But eventually we will run out of games to play. So we will be forced because it
Yeah,
almost
I mean, I'm
always
sure we're
goes
gonna
on
play
sale.
it.
Just don't play the pre-sequel. That's
No
apparently
problem. I
universally
wouldn't
hated.
really care for the story anyway. I don't really remember the first one. Something about a vault. And
I think they're like I don't think it's story that upsets them. I think it's gameplay that upsets them.
yeah, I don't like stats being put on things that should normally be skill based. Like the game is deciding how accurate my gun is, but I am
You are
running,
playing Diablo with
gunning.
guns.
So is the enemy running and gunning. If I happen to click my mouse and my reticle is on his head, that should be a headshot, and it should do a crap ton of damage. None of this like, oh, you're running and gunning. Okay, so we're gonna lower your accuracy 20%. Oh, we're gonna do. Well, I mean, there's some variance to that. I should take that back because I do like the old
I was
Battlefield
gonna say,
stuff.
weapon stability while running should
Even Halo
absolutely
kind of had it. Like if
decrease.
you tried using your assault rifle and you just held it down, the spray would get larger. But if you just kind of focus fired every now and then, like little bursts, you would have incredibly good accuracy for those few shots that you were throwing out. So there is some variance there, but each bullet that
And I'm
hits
pretty
is going
sure
to do the
if you're
same amount of damage based on where it hits the enemy. So if it's a headshot, it's doing headshot damage. If it hits an arm, it's doing arm damage for that bullet. And so it's really only accuracy that changes, but there's still skill within that. Like the bullet itself is not going to decide to miss just because of a stat. And it's actually a thing that's been brought up for AQ3D a lot because there's Like Artix really wants to keep. I don't know if he really wants to, but he really likes that your attacks can sometimes miss just randomly, just because there's like a 20% chance that your attack will miss for no other reason than it's in the engine. The engine decides.
Uh, just to pull that number down some. Remember, Pokemon had a thing called Gen 1 misses in it, which you had a 1 in 256 chance of missing a 100
Well,
accuracy
we are
attack.
planning on removing the misses by default, so that is basically we're switching it from you can always miss to the enemy can cast something on you that makes you miss or gives you the chance to miss. So
I think I would add that to like, I would definitely, if you have a class that focuses on
that's what we want.
buffs,
We want to make it a stat type thing that
like I would, if you have a buff heavy class, I would absolutely make it so like when you instill a buff, it also is like, hey, you can also sometimes miss now. You're gonna be stronger overall, but to keep that in check,
it could
you
be
also
that. It could
have a
be
chance
an
of just
enemy
missing.
that hits you with a smoke bomb and that makes it hard for you to see. So now you're able to miss more and stuff like that. Like suddenly we're just adding to something that we can balance as opposed to, well, I mean,
An engine feature,
basically we're only focusing it around things
because
that
you
can
can't.
be affected by a monster or a player, not just making it something that happens all the time.
Yeah, that makes it harder to balance if it's just like in every encounter you have a 1 in 5 chance of rolling a miss. That's like the most
Yeah, it's like if we just
brutal
know by
dungeon
default
master.
the player's hitting 100%, then we have a pretty good idea of uh how much we can nerf it.
You can calculate DPS and you can figure things out for balancing. It makes the spreadsheet that your community is going to make to do the
Yep.
balancing work for you
So
a lot better.
I agree with that. That was a rabbleism.
Rabble, coming from the Epic Duel team, knows that the community is going to balance the game better than
Oh
you,
yeah.
will break the game better than any of your testers.
Yep, we're aware of that.
I explained that to the Epic Duel community many times. It's like, look, you guys can yell at the testers all you want. You will always be better at breaking the game, regardless of the number of testers we have.
All right. I think we had a good long chat. I think we did well.
Yep.
I enjoy Dark
Two and a
Souls
half
very
hours.
much. I was happy to have
Um,
played through it.
it's a good franchise. I'm going to make a contrary opinion. Dark Souls is not a series about get good. It is and die. It is a series of
Yep.
learn. The game will teach you everything you need to know. You just need to be receptive and not
I still say it is my
pig
favorite
headed.
Zelda game.
I've only ever played part of A Link to the Past, so if we're classifying this as a Zelda game, I would have to agree.
I mean, I've only really played the first Zelda. But if you play the first Zelda, like try and play it legit, it's going to remind you a lot of Dark Souls. Tells you
It tells
nothing,
you
and if you go
nothing
the
and
wrong
kicks the
way,
crap out
you're
of you.
boned.
Um, if you see this talk and for some reason decide, hey, I want to play Dark Souls, start with game one, move on to game two, play game three. The story is not what's going to do that. It is the mechanical evolution of the game will make it
That
difficult
is
to play
true
the series
because,
in reverse
I
order.
mean, I did say it earlier, like three's movement and combat control scheme, it's a lot faster, a lot smoother, a lot more responsive. The first game was very stiff, so it would definitely be harder to go backwards.
The second game loosens up a little bit, definitely adds some more freedom into the combat system, and sort of unbreaks the magic system that was very broken in the first game. Broken not in a hey exploitable way, broken in a Magic and Demon Souls was super overpowered. We
Yeah.
need to nerf that into the ground kind of way. And if you want to know what I'm talking about for Demon Souls, look up the Demon Souls speedrun from either the world record or from a GDQ event, and you will see just how broken Magic is in that game. But on that note,
Yep, I think it is.
it is time for sleep. Um, I plan on doing a big long Destiny stream tomorrow. I got some exotic weapons to grind out. Uh, I was really hoping Night Wraith would be able to join us because Night Wraith's the only
I
one of us who's
forgot
played
to
Neo.
ask him again.
I was gonna bring it up when I texted you around lunch and went, he's probably forgotten again. There's no point.
I'm good at this.
But Bernie definitely played. Sorry, Night Wraith definitely played Neo,
Yes, he did.
and I'm pretty sure. Well, the DLC just dropped for it. He might go back and play that. He's been on a Bloodborne kick recently. But we don't know anything about the game. Again, if it comes up on PS Now, Bloodborne probably gonna take priority over Neo,
Yep.
just because Bloodborne is made by From. But I'm sure we'd love to try out both of them. Neo has some of that looter shooter you love so much.
I wouldn't even mind just keeping my eye out on the game, The Surge. I believe so, yeah.
That comes out soon, don't it?
I'll,
May. So
I'll
we
keep
might have
my
to
eye on it.
go
I don't know what kind of
play that.
multiplayer it's got going on, but
I don't think
we'll
I've seen anything about
see.
multiplayer in that game.
Yeah,
It's got
whatever.
crafting in it. I absolutely saw a trailer that was about crafting.
Crafting was exactly where I stopped playing BioShock. Because I was replaying BioShock recently, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting close to the end. Sweet. What's this? I can craft now? I don't wanna. Yeah, it's close enough to the end of the game for me.
Then you
Yep,
realize you're a quarter of the way into the game.
yep, yep, yep. That game could have ended right there, and I would have been satisfied, to be honest with you.
Okay.
All
I'm
right,
gonna fall
everybody.
asleep in this
Have a
chair.
good night.
So good night everyone.